Hello, Joe Black here. It is time for episode 1 of Joe Black Meets. I'm recording this with a very attention-seeking cat on my lap, Egon, who is purring like an absolute machine. Yes, it is the first episode with my special guest, Joe Lycett, which was the second episode I recorded in the series. Joe Lycett, comedian, presenter, troublemaker, generally glorious human being. So I hope you love it. And as of the time of recording this, there is no sponsor to this, so there shall be no ad breaks. If you do want to support in some way, leave a lovely review to help push the podcast to podcast-related ears on the internet. Or I've got a Patreon, which is not necessarily this, though they will probably get the episodes a day or two early. And I'm going on tour in autumn with my show Club Cataclysm. That's October and November 2022. So if you are listening to this in the future, I can only assume it went well. And I saw all of your lovely, gorgeous faces there, I hope. But yes, Patreon is patreon.com/Mr. Joe Black. That's MISTER, not just MR. And yeah, Club Cataclysm touring this October and November around the UK and Ireland. Anyway, I said there's no ads, and then I'm going to look like a fucking liar if one does pop up. But at the time of recording, there is no sponsor. So, doing this all myself, people. Anyway, gonna hand over to Joe Lycett. Hope you love the episode. Bye-bye. Hello, Joe Lycett.
Hello, Joe Black. How are you?
I am alive, I am well, and I am overjoyed to be speaking to you. Obviously, they can't see this, but you have all of... I assume these are your lovely artworks behind you.
Yes, this is I'm in my studio, so you've got some of my paintings, and then there's some paintings that other people have done. So, like that one there is by an artist called Dion Kitson, and what he does is he's taken like these old oil paintings of people in the kind of, I don't know, in the past that he's found in charity shops, and he's repainted over the top of them to make them look like sort of council estate working class people, and I love them so much. They're really fun, and I bought that one from him. That is a plushie of Ginny Lemon. Ever heard of them?
I'm not familiar, but I will look up their work immediately.
That's a painting that I did of some floral stuff, and then it has the word gay written over it.
Yes, very, very, very good, very good.
And then other bits and bobs.
Is that George Michael on the top right there? Or is that...
No, that's my friend Tom Bird. But he will I think he'll be pleased about that.
Yeah, I mean, from here it looks... I mean, the one that you said first about the council estate ones from here looks like the prom photo of Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks. So yeah. I'm getting my own interpretations here. I do love your artwork very much, and I will
Thank you, dear.
I will come to this and your garden updates soon. But I want to start by saying that. So I'm not in the stand-up comedy world. I live in the cabaret, drag, burlesque world, and so for me, stand-up comedians just sort of hatch from little eggs and are suddenly on television. Yes. Like they just appear, and I see these comedians, and they're all famous and successful and on television and recognizable, because I don't really go to stand-up shows for the most part. Until fairly recently, it was a very heterosexual, white, male-dominated area. So that has always been kind of in my head. So I never went to stand-up shows. So the ones that I know sort of just emerged from eggs at live at the Apollo and all of these panel shows and things. And I go, well, they must have always been here. And suddenly they're these famous faces that you'd recognize in the street. And I think Susie Ruffle has spoken about this, where the level of famous... I mean, you're different because you're doing arenas, where people go, you look familiar. Yeah. Are you... And then it's someone else. Like, I get it with... Because I have short orange hair. It was years and
Yes.
years were in Brighton recently, and I had people run towards me screaming. And as they got closer, you could just see the sort of defeat and sadness on their face. They're thinking, "Fuck, Ollie Alexander looks fucking rough in person." They were thinking.
You look gorgeous.
Oh, thank you. Not quite Ollie Alexander, but we've got similar hair. I'm sort of Ollie Alexander drawn by Tim Burton, I think maybe. So, like, you know, as far as my understanding goes, you emerged from an egg and were very successful
Yes.
and wonderful and on television. How does that happen?
Correct. I was in an egg, and then I got out of that egg, and here I am. Unfortunately, the egg involved doing a lot of gigs in shit pubs. I say unfortunately, I quite enjoyed all that time, actually. I've been doing stand-up getting on for 15 years, and I'd say the first 5 were me, playing a lot of gigs, different, varying qualities, all around the country. I lived in Manchester at the time, so I was doing lots of gigs around Manchester, and all of the sort of satellite cities like Liverpool and Leeds and Huddersfield and all of those places, Stockport. And then so sort of cut my teeth on the north, which I was very grateful to do, actually, because the south and the sort of southern comedy scene is slightly more impenetrable, I would say, because there's so many more people who want to get into it, and there's more gigs, but not enough to fulfill the demand, really. So you'd be waiting around for a lot more gigs, I expect. Whereas in the north, there are lots of comics, but there are lots of gigs, and there's a real appetite for comedy in the north. So I was doing lots there, and then sort of gradually just started to get bits of telly, and it sort of flowed on from there, really. It's a good system. It's quite meritocratic. If people are... A friend of mine said there's loads of brilliant out-of-work actors. There's no brilliant out-of-work comedians. They might not be household names. They might not be even on telly, but they'll be getting work because if you deliver and you make an audience laugh consistently, then you'll be getting gigs because the gigs will be desperate to have you. So... and that's the sort of potted history of my trajectory. But I'm fascinated by the cabaret and all of that, and the drag world, really. And I dip my toe in it here and there. But I think we're quite similar in the fact that we've not engaged massively in other disciplines other than our own. I mean, I've watched a lot of drag in the last few years, and I've gone to a lot of drag stuff because I love it. But I've not done a lot of cabaret, and I've not been to sort of circusy things. I've not done a lot of that, really. So is that world similar? Is it sort of you start off doing little gigs and then they build up?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, we met at a little pub garden show, didn't we? I had just done a show at the Nightingale in Birmingham, and then we sort of went, you,
Yes,
you.
yes.
Across
You there,
Joe. The other Joe.
Yes.
Joe, just lots of Joes back and forth. It is similar. I was quite lucky because I came up doing hosting, which I guess in the same way that you were saying that with these TV gigs, that if you're funny, you'll consistently be booked on them. With hosting, there wasn't a lot of... I don't want to say good hosts, but hosts that were sort of reliable and will always do the good job and can travel and are visually... appealing as well in terms of like dressing up rather than just someone maybe more plain or that fit a particular aesthetic, especially for things like burlesque and cabaret, because you throw a bit of nice costume and some makeup on it, and it of course something that you could have done in a t-shirt and jeans becomes something else once you've presented in another way. So all of my work came from doing that, because I was a host that was capable of doing songs as well. Which all the shows are like, oh, that's helpful, because then that's another act and that fills out time, and then that money is used wisely because we have X amount of budget. And on the subject of budget, what you were saying about the north-south thing, I guess because of the level of, in the pubs and stuff, there wouldn't have necessarily been the budget to get you from Manchester to Reading or wherever comedy gigs happen.
And I didn't drive at the time, so I was at the mercy of public transport.
What did the council do with their time before you drove?
Sorry. Oh, the councils. Yes, I mean, lived quiet, happy lives, I imagine.
See, yesterday I was like, so with these interviews, I've done just one of them so far, and the rest are all after this point. So I'd like to do my research. And yesterday I was like, right, I'm talking to Joe Lycett tomorrow. I'm going to just right. I'm sure Joe Lycett's got a book. And then suddenly I thought, Joe Lycett's got a book. I need to read the book.
No, gosh, no. I didn't even write the book.
So I charged myself down to the local bookshop, and I bought a copy of your Parsnips Buttered. The full title? What is the full title? I read it all last night.
I've got a copy here. Hang on, let me have a look. Because I wrote this years ago, and I sort of forget that it's out there in the world. Bamboozle and boycott modern life, one email at a time. There it is.
Well, I binge read. Is it technically binging with reading? I don't know. It doesn't sound like the binge sounds
Speed
like
read?
Speed read.
It's there's a lot of pictures in there, so I mean, you probably you could speed read it, I'd say. Yeah.
But I read it all last night, and my goodness, it's so funny. I didn't realize how long ago you'd written it. It was.
I think it's. Hang on, it'll say in the thing, won't it?
2017. I think.
17, is it 17? 16, copyright Joe Lycett 2016.
My God. Well,
That's
it was
mad.
Absolutely brilliant. And
Thanks,
it's been what year is it now? 2022. So that's 6 years
Yeah,
ago.
6 years, yeah.
Was writing a book one of those I've made it moments?
It was a strange one, actually, because my agent emailed me and said, "Oh, you've been offered a book deal, but I don't think you should be doing one right now." And it was sort of just like kind of killed on arrival. And I went, "Oh no, don't send that email. I think I would like to write a book, and yeah, there might be a better strategic time to do it in terms of sales and increased profile and all that. But actually, I might die, and it'd be nice to have said you've written the book and to go through that process and whatever." So we negotiated I think we negotiated between a few different publishers and ended up with Hodder, who were brilliant, and basically then spent the best part of a year compiling it around gigs and putting it together, and it was a really lovely process. Actually, I really enjoyed it. It was hard work, obviously, but because it was sort of a compilation of my kind of some of the most fun emails I'd sort of done over the years, or whatever. It was there was a lot of the comedic stuff was written. I just had to write the stuff around it and do the drawings and things like that. And I look at it now. I mean, I haven't actually looked in it for ages, and I think I would like it to be better. I'm sure. Yes, I'm looking at it now, going, "Oh, I could do much better drawings now," and that sort of thing. But at the time, it was the best I could achieve, and I put my best into it. And as my nan used to say, that's all you can do is your best. And I'm very. I really enjoyed the whole process, and I like making things that you can hold. And often when you're doing stand-up, you don't do that. You're doing something that's gone forever. You do it once, or you do it, on tour, and then it's lost to the ether.
It lives in the hearts of the people.
Say that again. Sorry,
It lives in the hearts of the people. That's where it lives
in the hearts. That's quite right. Yeah.
So
I think there's some weird thing going on with Zoom where when you say something, it's not sending it to me until you are midway through the sentence for some reason. I don't know why that is.
Bastard Zoom.
See, I'd only got a blurred version of that.
Oh, I called Zoom a bunch of bastards.
Yes, quite right. They are bastards.
With the book. So for those unfamiliar that are listening, the book is basically you being a professional mischief maker, and mildly inconveniencing people that deserve to be mildly inconvenienced.
Yes.
And so you did Joe Lycett's Got Your Back. Is that all? Because you were saying, I look back, I forget I've done it. But did what you were doing now come off of the back of doing that?
Yes. So the book was a sort of blueprint for Got Your Back, really. And it was a sort of, a way of explaining what I do and what brings me pleasure, which is, as you say, like sending emails to people and pissing them off a bit. But the right sort of people. I don't do it for just for the sake of it. I do it, if I feel that someone's behaving badly or whatever, I like to sort of piss about with them a little bit, or selling stories to newspapers, all that sort of stuff. I love it. So yeah, that's what it sort of came out of, and then Channel 4. Well, actually, we pitched a show to the BBC originally, and BBC said no to it, and it was Channel 4 that ran with it, and actually, I don't think we would have got away with it on the BBC because it's sort of legally, my show is quite tricky, I think is probably the word.
Nuanced. There was lots of name changing.
Lots of name changing, but the lawyers generally, have a bit of a headache when my show is happening because there's lots that they have to sign off, there's lots that they have to deal with, and there's lots of ideas that I'm imagining that they don't often get presented with, where they're like, oh, will the insurance pay out if he, all of that stuff that they have to think about.
Do you find people in power are suspicious or nervous of your approach to art?
Yes, they definitely. Nervousness is definitely the word. Yeah, so it's good fun though. I like doing it. It's really it's always a challenge. It's always always interesting, and I like that we can sort of add a kind of, and we've done this in different ways, but add like a sort of queer slant on a lot of these things and make it not all about I think the whole approach to the thing is sort of inherently queer. It's like having a go at companies by essentially dressing up as something that you're not. Turning myself into Hugo Boss is a sort of, in a way, a sort of form of drag, isn't it? It's my sort of drag character.
Yeah, and it's you mean you've got in the book it's sort of replies to hate mail, which I thought was well I would say maybe my second favorite inconvenience you've done to someone is the hate mail with the back and forth images of Jimmy Carr. And my first one, and I might need to sue you as you were going to sue them, as I choked laughing as you choked on a grape watching a claims advert. That was, and I had to read it out loud to my boyfriend Aaron. I was just sat there, and it's something about reading a book and laughing. As you look sort of inherently a bit mad, as I'm just sat in a chair going,
yeah,
and then having to explain why you're laughing.
That's so nice of you to say. That's lovely. I mean, I as I say, I haven't read it for a while. I know roughly some of the stuff that's in there, but I'm looking through it now, going, "Oh bloody hell, yeah, I did that and I did that." So it's really fascinating, actually. Like thinking that it's still people are reading it out there in the wild, and I think the reason I've forgotten that I've done it is that I don't see a single penny from any sale now. So it means nothing to me now. I don't give a shit.
You can take them down next. Go collect those pennies, because someone got their back on you, which is not mentioned. It's mentioned briefly in the book, but no explanation of what actually happened. So you sent glitter to your lovely hate mail man, with the Jimmy Carr picture.
It's so fun that
it doesn't elaborate on it. You got glitter back from a bank.
I did, yeah. I'm trying to remember
what happened.
Oh God, I'm going through the book now to try and remind myself of. I sent glitter. I've sent glitter to a few people, but I wrote about one specifically in here. But yeah, I remember someone sent it back to me, and was it the bank? Maybe it was. Yeah,
because it just mentioned it, but then I was like, yeah, but how? Because you never spoke about sending anything to a bank. So suddenly I just thought was like Lloyd's just suddenly were like, right, we're going to fuck him up. I don't know if you're with Lloyd's, but if Lloyd's just saw you and was like, right, we're taking him down.
I have done stuff with banks before because I don't like when they start, like there was one where they'd started charging me for stuff just out of the blue, and I was a bit like, what? Like it was they just decided they were going to charge me, so I just thought I'd just slow them down a little bit and waste their time a little bit. But I can't. Off the top of my head, Joe, I can't remember which bank it was and what. I'm sure that I vaguely remember there was a funny note with it from someone at the bank, but I don't want to, throw any bank under the bus, But
but
Yes.
one of them did send you glitter back. I'm just imagining that conversation in the office, them being like, right, this fucker's fuck with us, we're gonna fuck with him.
Yeah.
Some sort
They
of
might
like
have
mob.
sent the glitter. I think they sent the glitter back that I'd sent them. I think that might have been what happened.
They got you.
They got me.
Well, I was when I said just now about the book thing, you're published
The book.
the book,
The book
thing.
thing.
Feeling like a made it moment. Have you? I mean, I'm assuming you've had a few of those when something happens, you go right, made it, lads.
Live at the Apollo's that, really. Because, and I remember Sarah Pascoe talking about this. She said that, before that, someone says, "Oh, what do you do?" And you say, "I'm a comedian." And they go, "Oh, have I seen you on anything?" And you might have been on a panel show here or there, or whatever, but you're not doing your thing. You're not doing stand-up. And then you've got this very well-filmed, in a big venue, sold out venue. Well, it's free tickets, but like full venue, big thing of you doing stand up, making people laugh. And it's like this artifact. It's like, yes, I might not ever say anything funny ever again, but here is this evidence that at one point I was a funny stand up, and here is that evidence. And that for me was like a real turning point of like, I'm like, I've arrived, I suppose, for want of a better term. Like that was for me that moment. And I'd done a couple of panel shows here and there before, but the book was less so really. I mean, I was amazed to be asked to do a book, but it wasn't like it was to do a book wasn't like on the bucket list in the same way. Obviously. It's a lovely thing to do, but I'm not an author. I'm not I write comedy. I don't write like books essentially, and I've only done the one thus far. Whereas to something that you've worked on for years, and then to suddenly be like showing it off on national television was a really cool thing.
Would you say like I'm trying to think of? I guess is Drag Race maybe an equivalent for people who do sort of drag and cabaret thing that. It's a springboard platform. I guess a different way in that you're not defined by your one, that first appearance on Live at the Apollo. But I guess there are these shows for different, Bakers and Bake Off and all of that sort of thing. So is Live at the Apollo the kind of like, right, cool, spring, boom, off I go.
It used to be, and it was sort of tapering off when I was doing it in terms of that springboard. And actually, being on Live at the Apollo didn't make me particularly famous or recognisable any more than I was before. It was actually being on 8 out of 10 Cats and doing one of the email exchanges, which kind of really got stuff going, and that was my routine about the parking fine, and that really people really engaged with that, and that went viral, and it sort of goes viral every couple of years or so. Again, sort of gets. I think it was on in Norway somewhere the other day, and sort of got picked up again. So it sort of follows me around the world. That, and I think that is my sort of calling card in the way that you maybe talk about Drag Race being that sort of thing where people kind of first come to you and get their sense of what you are and slightly defines you. That appearance on and the few appearances on Dictionary Corner that I did on 8 out of 10 Cats definitely became that in lots of ways. Yeah.
Because I was looking at your tour dates. What a ridiculous set of venues you're doing.
Silly.
Years and years and years ago, I did a show with Eddie Izzard, and Eddie Izzard had this whole routine about doing Wembley. And Eddie Izzard is obviously a comedy legend, and it was just this whole thing about Wembley and going back to Wembley, and it's this thing about a cab driver taking them from Wembley, and they said, "Oh, do you think you'll be going back?" "Oh, I think I might be going back to Wembley." Oh, and misunderstanding, of course, is in, "Do you want me to take you back to see the show?" Rather than "I'm in the show." And it's called it's not called Wembley anymore, is it? OVO Arena or something, or is that a different?
Oh
place?
yeah, it's got like no, it is. It's got some weird name.
OVO. One of those. Well, you're doing it. You tell me. So you're doing essentially Wembley. That's
essentially Wembley. Yeah. Hang on, I'm going to try because they get cross if you don't use the right sponsors. Not that I give a shit. It is the Wembley. Sorry, Oh no, it is the OVO Arena Wembley. It was the SSE Arena Wembley because we all know SSE and we all know OVO.
What do they do?
Say that again, sorry?
Who are they?
I don't know. I think OVO are an energy company, I think.
Oh!
Let me Google it for you. OVO. They're OVO Energy. They are gas and electricity, and we all love gas and electricity.
Right
and
now.
We all love paying loads of money for it.
So, I mean, is this the first time you're doing an arena for your own show?
It is.
How does that
yes,
feel?
I did. I've supported Jack Whitehall at some and really enjoyed. I didn't expect to enjoy them and really enjoyed them. And they're just like they're exciting and they're big gigs. You know, they've got like atmosphere and that sort of sense of occasion. And my show that I'm doing at the minute has a big screen and there's a lot of kind of visuals to it as well. So I felt like this show would work well in that environment. Yeah, so I'm very nervous about it, obviously, but very excited because it's a show I'm really proud of, and I think it's personally, I feel like it's the best thing I've ever made, and I spent a long time working on it, and yeah, I'm really enjoying doing the theatres, so it's just scaling the thing up, really. But yeah, it's a silly thing to be playing Wembley, big silly thing.
Yeah, does I mean that must feel like a moment as well. When that, was it behind the scenes like, okay, we're gonna put you on there, and you went, oh, I hope we do, and then they say, oh, it might, was it like a back and forth thing? You just got an email one day going, cool, you're doing Wembley.
No, what happened was I went in to see my manager and had said that I was ready to start touring again, or was interested in touring again, because I hadn't toured for a little while, and they slid over this list of dates, which included Wembley and Birmingham Arena and Manchester Arena, all these places, and I had a panic attack basically, and said in the meeting, I said, I'm having a very like physical reaction to what you've just shown me, and I definitely need to go and think about it. And I went away and thought about it, and I decided not to do it. I just said, I'm not ready. I don't have a show that I think is good enough to tour at this point, and I don't want to be in front of 10,000 people at Wembley with a piece of shit. And I was really thrown by my reaction to it, because I've never had anything quite like it. And then actually those dates were penciled, or were going to be penciled for like mid 2020. So I actually did everyone a favour by having a panic attack in that meeting, because we would have had to reschedule. It would have been a real headache and very expensive and all that. So actually, by putting them on later and in a place where I was a lot happier and felt like I had a good show and all that, I've saved everyone a lot of aggro. So you're welcome, my management company.
Well, I mean, yeah, that's things worked out there, didn't it? And then I guess you had
well, maybe because I haven't done the shows yet, so like I'll come back to you on that one, because I could fuck them up. So
well,
I can't say if it's a moment or not yet, because I haven't had the moment.
Well, if you do need a support act for these, more than happy to take time out of my very busy schedule. For
That's
a small
very
local
interesting.
gig.
Well, you say because it's a stand-up show, but you obviously do. That's one of the things I loved about you on Drag Race, is that you're sort of drag plus and quite a big plus, I would say. You do so much, and I was sort of frustrated. I mean, I don't know how much you can talk about it, I suppose, but I was frustrated with how little of you we saw and how much you had to offer. But I suppose that's the nature of you going to these things knowing that that's what's going to happen, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the format. I'm out of contract now, so fuck them.
Woo!
The format is not made to show off what people can do in all of their various ways. I mean, so you saw me. It was that night in Birmingham, after I'd done the Nightingale, and we were both many drinks down, and I did that very obnoxious thing where someone went, "Go on, get up and do a song," and I was like, "Yeah, all right," and I had my ukulele in the back room because I had just come from the show, so I got up and just did a song, and then you sort of drunkenly came over and you went, "You're the real deal. You're the real deal." Also,
I don't remember saying that, but that's I agree with drunk me.
I remember by the way, I have a Zoom Basic account, and it's just warned me that I have 10 minutes left.
Yes.
Would Oh, if I click back into it, will it restart the 40 minutes?
I don't know. I think. Should I set up a Zoom call?
Do you want
Do it
to
like
do
that?
that? Oh, I'll
But
keep
then,
all of this
hang on,
in.
no, you need to record it your side, don't you?
Well, I can. No, I'm recording mine on this microphone here, and you're recording yours there.
Oh yeah, of course. So
Shall
hang
we-
on, I've never set up a Zoom meeting. in
No,
my
I
life.
haven't either. This is why this has happened to me, and I thought, so I'm going to have to, for some of the guests that I mentioned before we started recording, I'm going to have to upgrade. I thought it was
Yeah, I think you should
unlimited for 2
upgrade.
people.
I think you should upgrade because you don't want fiddling around setting up Zoom calls.
No,
do
I
you? But
no, I don't, and I'm gonna bleep that so that because this is, I think that's going to be a nice surprise later on.
yes,
That one.
Yes,
So
I could say a different name. You don't want Mahatma Gandhi
no, you wouldn't. No. I mean,
to be setting up a Zoom call.
No, not at all. Not bloody at all.
That's the only name that I could think of. In that moment. I was trying to think of like Idi Amin or some like you're going to interview me and then a series of dictators.
Catherine Zeta-Jones, maybe. I don't know who. I'm going to talk to you about Catherine Zeta-Jones in a minute as well. All right.
What do you want to do then? Shall I set up a Zoom?
Yeah. Do you want to? This is. I'm very sorry for this happening. I didn't. I thought it was
No, I'm
unlimited
going
if
to-
it was 2 people.
Right, I'm going to set up a Zoom and I'll send you a Zoom link.
On where?
I've got your email somewhere, haven't I?
I've got your assistant's email, but I'm assuming you were forwarded it.
Oh, I think she's forwarded your email.
Oh, yes.
Well, hang on. I'll
Well-
take your email. What's your email?
Info info at
Yes.
Mr.
Yes.
Mister. Not
Yes.
not just Mr. MrJoeBlack.com. I'm keeping all of this
I've
in.
got
I
your
think. I
email.
think
I've
that
got-
would be quite amusing.
Say again. What's?
I'm gonna keep all of this audio in. I think it'd be quite amusing.
keep it
Yes.
in. It's a little bit of Zoom admin. Why not? That's what the
Yes.
people give the people what they want.
And you'll continue recording as well, so we'll have both the
I'll
sides.
keep recording.
and,
So there'll
yeah.
be this period now where I won't be speaking to Joe, but I will be recording.
And same. And so
I will
we could-
dictate. I will talk about my experience in setting up my first Zoom meeting. How
Okay,
about
so
that?
I'll remain quiet until I get back on the Zoom with you. So then this is a narration from you.
Lovely. Okay.
Beautiful.
I'm leaving the Zoom now.
Right. Goodbye.
Goodbye. What a horrible man. Right. I click onto zoom.us, join a meeting. Oh, I've got to sign in. Ooh. Okay. I am not sure I know what my password is for Zoom. Oh, actually, will it tell me on... if I go to passwords on my phone... Zoom. Oh, yes. Okay, I've already got... Wow, that is not a password I ever use. New meeting. Okay. I want to join with computer audio. I've got video. And then can I invite someone into this? Invite. Email. Default email. And then I want to get... info at Mr. Joe Black.com, I think it was, isn't it? So I've sent that. Oh, that's a nice noise, isn't it? And currently I can just see a huge thing of my face. Now, where do I... Participants, if I click that. Oh, Joe Black has entered the waiting room. Shall we admit? Let's admit Joe Black. Hello?
Are we back?
We're back.
Oh goodness! I didn't narrate, but I was like, oh, I hope Joe's doing well. I'm gonna have some water. So I'm looking
Look,
forward
I-
to hearing your narration.
I did the classic joke of I try and do this as many times as possible in a day because it makes me laugh. Is if so the minute I hung up the call, I just said, "What a horrible man," and it's so simple as a joke. And I like to do it if people are within earshot. Actually, like it's much funny. Like when you've said, "Oh, how lovely to see you," and then as you like walk away, you say to whoever you're with, "What an awful couple they are," and just as you say it really loudly.
I enjoy that. But I like if you ever, I mean, I'm sure along the same lines. If you have a bad show. And then you like go, thank you all so much. You've been such a pleasure. And get off the stage and go, what a bunch of cunts.
Yeah. It's so simple as a joke, but it's so pleasing to me. I love stuff like that.
I'm glad we could have that moment. And
I'm really glad, yeah.
Talking of moments, I'm enjoying you mimicking Catherine Zeta-Jones on Instagram. And you also don't, I mean, it's pretty... For those people, everyone just go look at Joe Lycett's Instagram, where with these Catherine Zeta-Jones videos, because they're quite she's quite unsettling. But then when you see your recreation of it, you realise how unsettling she is, because you don't seem unsettling doing it, but it just sort of amplifies how strange hers is. That's how I.
They're so weird. Her posts are so weird, and it's sort of classic Hollywood fodder of someone who's been mad famous and probably not being told no that much and all of that. And she seems actually like fine. She seems like a nice, but like just weird, just like odd. And so it's not clear to me what the purpose of the video is. It's like I don't really know what she's trying to achieve with it. But the one that I did, which everyone's been talking to me about and getting excited about, is the one where she's showing her salad to the camera, what she's having. It's lunchtime on set, and she's showing her salad or what she's having for lunch. And she's got a bag of like salad. She's got a tin of tuna, some olive oil and balsamic vinegar.
My tuna, she says. She says, my tuna.
My tuna, yeah. My tuna. 2 tomatoes. But she only shows you one, and it doesn't look like a great tomato.
Yeah, that's what I thought. She said 2. Because I saw hers, and then I flicked through and watched you. So I actually watched your one before actually watching the full one of her, because I didn't really know what was going on. Yeah, and then I suddenly was like, no, I see what's now. But you do hold up 2 tomatoes.
I do, yeah, because, I had 2 tomatoes. I thought, why not?
Why not? Little cherry
I've got the budget.
Yeah, unlike Catherine
It's been a good year.
She and it's the one that is the cucumber, but she doesn't quite announce what it is until she puts it down, and they goes cucumber.
Yeah, no, it's just the whole delivery of it, the whole premise of it, and then she ends it by saying, "Oh, she says she's got an apple," and then she goes, she looks back, and then she goes, "That's it, I miss you," and then she posts that to Instagram, and you're like, what were you expecting to achieve here? Like, what is this?
There's a particular like hyper huge A-list celebrities that use social media. Sometimes are a bit strange, because I guess they're not actually using it to promote anything, so they can just put whatever they want. And there are people that I am and I get this guilt where I think, I'm such a big fan of so and so, and then I guess this is modern life, isn't it, where I get embarrassed that I don't follow them on social media, and then I realize mostly actors, their social medias are like a nightmare to follow, because it's bizarrely cropped pictures of something, and you're like, why do I want to see like a park? I don't know. There was a really good one with Glenn Close, actually, who's a little bit better at Instagram, but I'm assuming she maybe has some assistance, where she wrote a poem. Did you see this about Notre Dame?
No.
So it was when all the Notre Dame fire happened, and then she made this video. And she's going, I was in Paris, and, I'd like to say these words about Notre Dame. And she's really explaining how emotional it is. And she doesn't realize that videos can only be a certain length. And then she's explaining it. And then she goes, Notre Dame. And then the video ends. And then about 10 minutes later is a video of her going, I didn't realise. I'll try to re-upload in the next post. Oh.
That's so sweet.
But it's such beautiful, perfect timing of how emotional it is about this poem she's going to read. And she's going to read the poem any second. And then she says the first words and it cuts. It's beautiful.
Well, I mean, there's so many. Do you remember in lockdown when the Imagine video was done
God.
by Gal Gadot and whatever. It's that sort of complete disconnect of real life, really, and like what people are like, and just you sort of think that just you sort of thinking about another person is going to they're going to be, oh my God, Catherine Zeta-Jones glanced at me, and now I'm forever, touched by her glory and genius. It's like, she's just a woman, isn't she? A very talented woman, but it's this sort of they're a strange breed.
The one that got me in the lockdown was Elton John's performance on the white grand piano next to her in a basketball court. I'm laughing because now I can't hear "I'm Still Standing."
I'm still standing.
And have you seen the one with the captions? Where they're
really trying their best, but
like it's feeling like a little clown, whale trombone something. It's just so absurd.
So absurd, yeah. But I love celebs for that. Like, that's what they're there for, isn't it? To sort of be ridiculed by me.
Your meetings with celebs and your lovely selfies that you had for a while with the glass, that was very good. I watched, again, in my research, I was making sure I'd seen clips and things to make sure that
you're very impressive. I mean, nobody does this much research, Joe. I mean, that's very kind of you to do they
not?
Well, I mean, I suppose some people put a bit of time in, I suppose. Yeah, I've probably been unkind on people who've interviewed me before, but it's not entirely the norm. If I interview someone, I just do a quick Google.
Oh, no, I just was watching videos. I went and bought a book.
Speaking of celebs, I've just had a text. Now, I'm conflicted about this. I applied to be on the Raya dating app. Are you familiar with it?
Oh, so this is the dating app for famous people, right?
Yeah, and I was curious about it. I actually applied to it years ago, and it's actually the text was from 2016, in fact. So I got it years ago because I was curious, and a friend of mine had said, what can you sign up to it? And I was in Berlin at the time, and the first person I matched with was Lily Allen, and then I panicked and deleted the app. But I was talking to Joanne McNally, who's a brilliant stand-up, and she's on Raya and talks a lot about Raya. And I thought, let's have another look at it. And I applied about a week or so ago and heard nothing. And I've just had a text saying, welcome to Raya. Open the app to activate your membership. So I'm now officially in the celeb dating world.
Wow, yeah, I had no idea this existed, and then an actor friend was talking about it, and it seems quite strange. I don't know. I mean, matching with Lily Allen on your first day is that's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think because she had a partner at the time. I don't know about her dating life, but
swinger.
It's not all about dating. It's about like connecting with like-minded people. But all of this I find, because I'm a bit anti the private members club thing, because I feel like, the most interesting conversations I have with anyone is in the pub. But I also, when I go on Tinder or whatever, it just becomes a bit unbearable sometimes, because like people sort of pretend that they don't know who you are and all that. And so actually, it appeals to me in some ways, this sort of that it's a bit celeb-y, but I don't want to end up shagging Joe McElderry, for God's sake.
Why not?
No, that's a good point, actually. Yeah.
Lily Allen, them? Just go through them all.
Yeah.
So do you have a sort of bizarre relationship with celebrity then?
Yeah. Well,
because you're very. I've got notes here that just say, and I will explain why I've written it. I've written humble and involved.
Humble and what?
Involved.
Involved.
In your local community.
Yeah, yeah. I was sorry, I was trying to work out what you mean by... I'm not sure humble's the word. I love showing off about things I do, and if I was truly humble and sort of altruistic, I'd just do nice things quietly. But every time I do a nice thing, I do a post about it or a TV show and go, aren't I great? Aren't I nice?
Well, what I mean by humble...
To do it, so.
Well, what I mean by humble is things like, so you judged the Church of Wyshie final...
Yeah,
in Birmingham. You it's because maybe it might be that people mostly who have been on reality TV, which is a very different path to yours, are actually a bunch of cunts, and we often. You'll find that people won't do anything unless there's some big great reward, and a lot of them forget that there are things that you have come from that maybe your little bit of time there, which doesn't actually in the grand scheme of things mean that much to you, in terms you don't lose anything, but you actually make it such a wonderful experience for everyone else. You do get involved in things.
Oh man, the thing with the Church of Waishi is that I feel honoured that Waishi would have me there, and it's such a good night. It's so fun to be part of that. And it was me, Ginny Lemon. Who were the other judges last time? They were both brilliant as well. And it was I was just so blown away by the standard of the thing, and like how free and how diverse, and it was just such a brilliant thing. And I was so proud that it was in Birmingham and so like to be part of it. And I went and watched one year and was just like, this is amazing to be here. And then when Waishi asked me to be a judge, I was like, yes, let's snap a hand off. So that something like that is just like a no-brainer for me. Like I just love that kind of thing.
It's amazing community things. You know, you enjoy going to these shows, and you know it. From their side of things, it's really exciting. You know, that's TV's Joe Lycett sat there on the judging panel, and you're having a lovely time, and they're having a lovely time. And you don't necessarily get a lot of that. I find stand-up comedians, tend to be a little more willing to get involved in stuff. Again, probably because reality TV drag queens are wankers for the most part.
We're just desperate. We're desperate for material. So if anything's a bit different or unusual, or something that we can potentially write about later, we're in. You know.
I mean, because when you know, if there's like say a gig that hasn't gone well, or I mean, this is sort of related, but a gig hasn't gone well, or maybe something isn't quite right, or maybe something's badly organised, or something's missing, or whatever, I go, well, you know, I've done worse. I've done worse for less. And I try to remember that when doing things. Well, I came from this, and then I think. But
also those gigs and those things where you're up against it. There was a bit of advice that was given to me by Roy Walker when I was starting out, and his advice was, you don't learn to be funny when they're laughing. And I thought that was so brilliant, and it's applicable to lots of different things. So when things are going well, that's not when you're being creative and whatever, that's when you're coasting, essentially. Mm-hmm. It's when like shit is hitting the fan, they're staring at you, maybe you're being heckled to bits, like all of that. That's when your brain sort of tries to find a route and tries to find some way of solving this problem. And so I think it's a bit silly in some ways to only put yourself in situations where you know you're going to be adored and all that, because you're not making good work then. You need to put yourself in situations where, sometimes actively put yourself in situations where like you're on the back foot, and you need to find a way, and you need to find you need to hone your skills.
Yeah,
it's a good
absolutely.
thing to do.
Many years ago, there was a venue that was doing a monthly stand-up night, and they were like, right, we're going to mix cabaret with stand-up. So I was the host of what was essentially a really clean-cut stand-up gig.
Great.
And, well, you say great. Nothing will quite remind you how happy cabaret audiences are to just be there and whatever happens, than a room of me going out looking absolutely ridiculous to like arms folded stand-up comedy crowds. And that was a massive learning curve for me, was going out and going, oh, I have to, they're not coming in for a wacky boozy night out with the girls on a hen party, or because it's a birthday and they wanted to see something different, so they've gone to a burlesque show, where they're kind of automatically on your side. Stand-up comedy audiences, especially for random mixed bill lineups, are not necessarily on your side.
No.
And that was terrifying, and I had to I had to learn, like, okay, well, gotta be funnier, because you get away with so much more.
That's it. Yeah, there's an expectation, there's a level, And yeah, you've got to reach it. And that's the thing. Like when people sort of say about anyone, they go, "Oh, well, they're not funny or they're shit." You know, people on telly, stand-ups who are on telly. I'm always a bit like, well, you might not find them funny, and they might not be coming across as funny as they are in live as on TV, but people don't ascend the comedy ranks if they're shit. Like like they might not be to your taste, but they will make it. They will have had to make some audiences laugh at some point in their life to get there. You know.
Oh,
and
yeah.
a lot of the time having tricky audiences as well, and ones that are pissed and aggressive and all that. It's not an easy thing to do.
It's not subjective. I mean, it is subjective to tastes, but if people are getting the gigs, it has to be funny. They can't get
Yes.
away with it just because they're charming and they've said a couple of funny things. They have to
Yeah.
consistently be doing a good job. Did you have any particularly? I was going to say terrible gig experiences, but sometimes the terrible ones can be surreal and brilliant because they're bad. So what, like early on, maybe even later on, what were kind of your most surreal live gig experience that's really stuck with you?
I mean, I did a lot of like pub gigs, and there were some really brilliant ones in Manchester. There was what was it called? It was on a Monday at the Ape and Apple, and it was just a kind of brand new comics just doing 10 minutes. Nobody got paid. It was just free, and I think it was free entry and free. Free performance essentially, and I learnt a lot. You know, worked with a lot of new comics there, and had some real fun there. But then there was like gigs where I'd go to like a kind of a little town outside Manchester and do a gig in a pub, and there was one where this dude was being really homophobic, and just saying like, "Oh, I don't really like people like you," or whatever. And his wife was really sticking up for him. And in the end, like, and the room wasn't sort of on my side. There wasn't this sort of sense of like, "Oh, that's appalling he said that, and so we're going to be on your side and really laugh more at your jokes," which might have happened in certain places. They were just like, "Yeah, fair play to him. Like, he doesn't like it. He said he doesn't like this sort of person, so whatever." And so I was really on the back foot there. And on that one, what I've realised is that like Hindus and sort of drunk women and aggressive women are much harder to deal with in stand-up than men. With men,
Well,
you can
on my side, those women are actually generally on your side.
Yes.
It's bizarre.
Yeah. No, that like if you offend one of the women, they all rally round that woman, and then you're like enemy number one. Whereas if you slag off a stag or a bloke or whatever, the rest of them, his mates, will just be like, "Yeah, he's a fucking nonce," or whatever it is. And so this homophobic guy, I just sort of basically went into the room and just sort of like started sort of aggressively flirting with him essentially. And I probably wouldn't do it. Well, I definitely wouldn't do it now because I didn't get consent from the homophobe to sit on his lap. But I sat on his lap, and I kind of made him a sort of part of this sort of, brought him in, and it kind of melted the kind of tension of the gig. But it was scary. I thought there was somebody who was basically saying, "I don't like people like you, and I don't want you around me, and I don't approve of having you there." And then I did lots of gigs in like, I did a weird gig in GAY in Manchester while the nightclub was still happening. I think it was me and Bethany Black, who is a brilliant stand-up who I've known for years, and she was comparing, and we were trying to basically entertain like 10 people who'd just gone to the corner of GAY to just have a little quiet drink and probably wank each other off. And then there's me trying to sort of read out my poetry jokes or whatever I was doing at the time. Yeah, I did a lot of odd gigs, but I'm very glad I did, and they honed my craft. And I try to do, when I'm not on tour, I try to do club gigs, and I try to go back to those places and do, put myself in situations where I'm uncomfortable, because it is the only way you hone your craft and you get better at the work. So it's a sort of it's part of the job.
Yeah, I think that's definitely also good advice for people doing any sort of performance thing, like staying out of the comfort zones, because you're not gonna learn the GAY one. A friend, they started for a while trying to do drag on a particular day, and then they said that they were singing Bohemian Rhapsody, which is of course not the calmest of songs, and someone was just having a nap just in the corner.
Yeah.
And also the stag and hen
That's
thing.
great.
The stag and hen thing with burlesque shows, the hens particularly, because it's their night, they're going to have the best time. And there was one night, it was in Southampton, and there's the entire front row was made up of hens, and then further back was a stag party. And stag parties at burlesque shows are not a good idea. At gay stag parties, better, but heterosexual laddie stag parties, they had T-shirts with Sylvester the Cat on it that said "Pussy Patrol." That was the vibe. And I said to I was hosting the show, and I said to the owner of the venue, I was like, I don't think the stag party is a good idea. And she was like, well, they paid the money. I was like, okay. And then within about 5 minutes of the show, 5 seconds of the show started, I'd walked out and one of them basically went, "Silly prick," at me. And then throughout the show,
prick.
And then,
is that the best you can do?
I mean, it got more intense as the night went on, and then the hen party kind of took it because it was their night. It was Lucy or whatever her name was, or Charlotte. It was her night, and then this, as far as they were concerned, the stag party, they weren't ruining the show, they were ruining her hen party.
Great.
And seeing a war between all of, so this is Southampton as well, so they're rough.
Yeah.
And they turned the hen party turned round and started like going at the stag party. And then they started going, "Wankers, wankers, wankers, wankers." And then the stag party just one by one shuffled out and left. The hen party won.
Great.
They won.
Actually, okay, I'm on their side now.
No, you get on the right side of hens, and it's like having your own private security team. It's just, could you imagine, like, look at, especially like really ridiculous and clowny like I do, and someone's being rude, and then a hen party goes, "He's trying to sing his fucking song, shut up." It's a brilliant personal security. I'm looking at the time when we are coming to the end, and I know you have other things to do, but I would like to just ask, so you've done the book, you've done all of these television shows, you've done your own shows, you're about to do Wembley. Where the fuck do you go from here?
It's a very good question. Because this show took so long to write and whatever, I don't have the next stand-up idea, or like sort of stunt, because it's around a stunt. I don't have the next stunt idea, and so I'm slightly tempted to, as we've been talking about, sort of go back to basics a little bit and go back to doing a show that is just pure stand-up, and it's just routines and just, so I think I'm going to go back and do loads of bits of that as well. I've got some telly stuff in the pipeline, some ideas and things which may or may not happen. It's up to the gods in the grey suits to decide. But one thing I love about my job is that I can always be doing it in some form. Like I can go and try out some jokes in a tiny little club, and I can play Wembley. I'm very fortunate that I can do these sort of like these things, and so I'm going to write some more jokes. Basically, that's it.
I think that says a lot about you as a performer. That you're like, well, I'll just carry on. That's the thing. Is like, no matter what you're doing, you're just gonna. And I mean, bit of a curveball, but Kate Nash, as an example, is that someone that had this ridiculous high of her career, and then that sort of lost that and got dropped by a label and things. And then just carried on because she just loved doing music, and it didn't matter what she had to do, she was going to do it anyway. And I think that those are the people that will continue working.
Well, that's because it's a sort of compulsion, isn't it? I can't remember the name of the musician.
You've frozen, Joe. You froze, Joe. I'm going to have to ask you that again. I didn't hear it, but the recording will hear it. But, we'll add effects on it or something.
Yes. What I was saying is that's the compulsion, isn't it? As a performer, like it's you don't do it. Obviously, it's nice to do it to bigger audiences and all that, but you do it because you want to do it and you enjoy it, and you get something from that. And I can't remember the name of the musician, but there was a musician who had written an album, wanted to release it. The label said no. The label said there wasn't a single on the album, as in like there was no like one song that was a breakaway, whatever. And so they said that they weren't going to release it, or they weren't going to release it till later in the year, whatever. And she was just like, sod this, and set up her own label and released it because she just made music and wanted to release it and then make more music and wanted to get rid of the last album essentially so she could start making more stuff. And that album got picked up by Paul Thomas Anderson, who directed Magnolia. I think that's right. I think he directed Magnolia. And at one point in the film, Tom Cruise sings one of the songs from it. The songs are all across the film. The one of the songs that's in the film ended up winning a Grammy. It sold a ridiculous amount of copies, and basically egg on face of the producers. And I loved that because it's it's the most ridiculous version of that story, of that thing happening where you just go and make something and it couldn't have gone any better, like Tom Cruise is singing it, all that. But it's that amazing thing of if you make stuff, you never know where it's going to go once you've made it, and it's sort of not up to you, and it's up to you to just get on with making stuff, and that's the joy, and that's the point of the thing. And what happens to it afterwards, so what? So I'm fortunate that I'm making stuff that I can show off in Wembley, but the next thing I might only show off in my local pub in Birmingham, and that'll be fine. It doesn't matter. I've got the cash now. I'm fucking rich. I don't need to do anything.
Authenticity, I think, it will draw the people in. You're not going to suddenly go, right, I've done Wembley now, so now I need to change absolutely everything about myself so I can do the O2. You're going to do what you do, and it clearly works, which is why you're doing Wembley. And I reckon you'll be at the O2 in no time. It'll be a Spice Girls style stadium show. You'll have dancers. You'll come out to spice up your life through the floor. And it's going to be absolutely glorious. Joe Lycett, thank you very much. It has been such
Thanks
a
for
pleasure.
having me. What a treat to see you and have a chat. And I wanted to ask you lots of questions really, but we'll have to do that at some other juncture in real life.
Let's do it in a pub.
In a pub with a pint.
Well, I'll have a wine, maybe a pint of wine actually.
Pint of wine, by the way.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to stop this recording now. And Joe Lycett, mwah!
Mwah!
Hello. And that was my interview with Joe Lycett. Hope you enjoyed it. Please leave some lovely reviews and 5-star ratings and all of that nonsense. Again, as I've said in the intro episode, I've loved recording these, and I'm excited for you to see the guest each week. So have a lovely day, evening, morning, existence, everybody, wherever you may be, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye!